But here we go, An Uncommon Gift, chapters 9 and 10. Bobby spent too much time first period thinking about his first day at band at school. He was constantly having to remind himself to stop daydreaming and pay attention. He eventually got through to the band period, third, and had a fun time as everyone seemed glad to have a new member, especially the clarinet section that had only 4 members and 3 had just started this year. Bobby got the combination to the locker where his buffet clarinet was stored, and Mr. Taylor gave him a copy of the book that had the sheet music of what they were working on for the spring concert. The class was about 75% through the book, so Bobby had some catching up to do. It didn't look too demanding, and he could ask Mark for some help at his lessons after school. For now he was going to try and read the music and listen to the other clarinet players and try and follow their lead. He was not going to worry too much about today's practice. He thought the band sounded pretty good for a middle school band, and that the players were all paying attention to Mr. Taylor's guidance. Toward the end of the period, he felt like he could get up to speed in time. Mr. Taylor told Bobby to work on just the second clarinet part, which did not have as many note changes as the first part, and that was fine with him. At the end of the period, Bobby cleaned his clarinet, put it back in the locker for safekeeping. He would come back at the end of the day. He would come back after his last period math class, as he would be heading out to the university right after school for his lesson with Mark. Bobby really liked math, as it was his easiest subject. Diane Davis was also in this class with him, as it was an honors math class. At the end of class, Diane again thanked Bobby for the fun night out on Saturday and hoped that they could do it again real soon. Bobby wished the same and said his goodbyes as he headed out of the band room and then out the door to the university. Bobby had a nice ride through the park as it was a beautiful spring day, warm, nearly 80, and was most eager to show Mark his school music book. Mark was sitting on the bench outside of room 305 as it was early, about 3:40 p.m. They were both quite early. Bobby came and sat down next to Mark. "Mark," announced Bobby, "here is my new music book from school that I have to learn for our spring concert," he added. "I hope I can be of some help, as they are already 75% through this book." "We can take a look at it the last 50 minutes of today and see how hard it is," replied Mark. "I'll bet you will get up to speed with it pretty fast." With that, the students in 305 came out early, and in went Bobby and Mark, got their music stand set up and their clarinets ready to play. Mark asked Bobby, "Start off where you were on last Friday, and let's see how you did over the weekend." Bobby started playing the scales that they did on Friday, and Mark could tell that Bobby had practiced over Saturday and Sunday. He did them pretty well. "Okay," said Mark, "let's move on to page 10, and we are going to play these scales that are 2 octaves. And once you get to the higher octaves, don't blow so hard, as this is when most beginning players will start to squeak on the higher notes. It is not about being the loudest player, but the one who can get the nicest tone from his instrument." Bobby began and played the scales very well, and blew less as he got higher in the registers, and his tone was pretty nice for just starting out. "Very nice," said Mark. "You're getting the hang of it pretty fast, I would say," he added with a warm smile. They continued to work through page 20, and Mark was pleased with the tone Bobby was generating through his buffet. Mark felt pretty sure that this mouthpiece on his buffet would be a keeper, at least for the time being. Bobby then took out the school music book, and they worked on that part that Bobby did at school today. Got Bobby to the part where they were pretty comfortable playing the second part, which was really pretty easy, but Mark did not want to say that to Bobby. They continued for the rest of the lesson to look a little further ahead, so when Bobby got to that part in school, he could stay right up with the other boys in class. They folded up their music stands, cleaned their clarinets, and put them away with their drying of their reeds, and put them in their cardboard holders. It was a good day. Thanks again, Mark, for a great lesson and help with my school music, stated Bobby. No problem. Now don't forget to practice when you get home at night, and take a look at the beginning of your school music book and try to learn some of that, as you have many pages to make up for the band at school, stated Mark. That practice is as important as what we are doing. We will continue to do both, but might spend half of our time in our lessons going over your school book so you can stay up with your clarinet buddies. Oh, by the way, said Bobby, I was thinking about getting a cassette deck and a microphone to record my practices at home. Would you be able to help me choose one down at Cook's Stereo Shop one day this week? Asked Bobby. I don't know much about recording, said Mark, but Dave Johnson runs our radio station, and I'm sure he would be glad to help with that, added Mark. I will give him a call tonight and see what he can have some time to help you out. He's a great guy and loves recording, as he did our concert last Saturday night. I listened to some of it at home on my stereo when we got home, added Bobby. He must have run it right over to the station after doing it, as it was on right away, and it sounded great. I'll tell Dave you said so, and let you know when he can help out, added Mark. Bobby wrote down his phone number on a piece of paper for Mark to give to Dave. The boys headed their separate ways. Bobby got home and saw Dad's car was already on the driveway, as that happened once in a while. He came in the back door and saw his mom putting dinner on the table. How was your lesson, son? Asked Dad. Did school band go okay? Asked Mom. Everything was great, and Mark even helped me with my school spring band concert book, as I have a lot of catching up to do, Bobby stated. I had no trouble getting my schedule changed and just had to give up student council and trade bad for that. Easy peasy, he added with a smile. Mr. Taylor even gave me a locker in his school office to keep my buffet clarinet safe and not have to worry about it carrying around all day. Well, that was nice of him, said Dad. I'm glad it all worked out for you, he added. I'm starved. Let's eat, he added. Bill said grace, and they all had a nice supper together. They talked about Saturday night, what a great time it was, and Mom and Dad said they couldn't wait again till the next concert, as they were all in on going again. They were so pleased with Bobby's good fortune to meet Mr. Miller, and how nice his wife Cassandra was. Bobby headed upstairs to finish his science homework of writing some new definitions 10 times each, as he did all of his other homework in the extra time in his classes. He was going to have time to play his clarinet for about 30 minutes or so before bed, and that was going to be time spent on the school band music. While Bobby was upstairs, the phone rang in the kitchen, and Mary answered. Mary, this is Cassandra. I hope I did not catch you at a bad time, she asked. No, Cassandra, not at all, as we are well finished with supper, and Bobby is upstairs practicing before bed. I know this is sudden, but we would like to have you over to our home this Saturday night for dinner, if you would like to come, she added. Of course we would like to come, beamed Mary. What time would you like for us to be there? She asked. Oh, about 7 p.m., if that's okay, added Cassandra. We will be there, said Mary, very pleased with the invite. There is a surprise as well, as a few of my friends from the symphony will be here as well, and we will have a little home concert with all of us participating. Tell Bobby that Mark will be here as well, playing with all of us. Bobby will be pleased to hear that, said Mary. Okay, and please tell Bobby to invite his friend Diane Davis to come as well, Cassandra added. We loved her company last Saturday, and she will love this as we have a couple of symphony violinists coming as well. Well, that is sweet of you to invite her, and I know she will be as excited as we are, added Mary. Cassandra gave Mary the address and said they looked forward to them coming on Saturday night. This weekly music thing could get to be a habit, added Cassandra with a laugh. Good night, dear, added Cassandra, and hung up the phone. Mary rushed into the living room and called for Bobby to come downstairs and filled them in on the news about Saturday night. Mom told Bobby to go out into the kitchen and call and see if Diane would come with. Everyone was quite excited about getting to go to the Miller's house for dinner and more great music. Bobby came back into the living room and said Diane would love to go and had permission from her mom. The night out on Saturday night was a full go. Chapter 10. Bobby got a call from Dave at the university radio station on Tuesday night and said he would be glad to help Bobby get a cassette deck and microphone. They agreed to meet at Cook's Stereo Shop on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Bobby said he would get his dad to bring him so they could work out the purchasing details. Bobby and his dad showed up at Cook's about 15 minutes early and just looked around the store. They had so many brands of gear, from the Marantz receiver Bobby owned, but also from Pioneer, Sony, Fisher, and the expensive Macintosh products that were well out of Bobby's reach. It would take a decade of paper route money to even get close to that gear's price. Dave walked in about 5 after 7 p.m. and found Bobby and his dad right away from the description Mark gave Dave. They exchanged greetings, and Bobby said how much he enjoyed the concert recording Dave did of the Saturday night concert. Dave thanked him and said it was a great hobby and loved working at the radio station, as that is what Dave wanted to do after graduation. He said the university could afford the nicer reel-to-reel recorders it took to do a great job of recording at the concerts. The microphones he used were pretty expensive as well. So they looked around the store, and Bobby told him he had a nice Marantz receiver his grandfather had left him after he passed. Dave said that right now, TEAC made some of the nicer recorders from cassette decks to the more expensive reel-to-reel gear, and that those tapes cost a lot more money, but that a cassette deck would be all that Bobby needed. They looked at all the models and decided on one that was about $150, and it had 2 microphone input jacks left and right on the front for stereo. Dave recommended a pair of Shure SM57 mics with that package. They threw in some cables, and the total came to $225, and Bobby's dad was fine with that. Dave said he had a couple of old microphone stands at the station that Bobby could have, and drew on a piece of paper how to set them up on the stands and get XY spacing for a nice stereo sound. He also told Bobby to not let the meters get much past 0 dB on the display so as not to add too much distortion to the recordings. The store also included a couple of blank TDK cassette tapes to help Bobby get started. Dave showed Bobby on the store display model deck how to hook it all up and said it would be very easy for him to do the same thing at home. He even showed him how the two sets of left and right cables came out of the back of the cassette deck for recording off the radio or the turntable, and another set was for playback through the receiver. Dave gave Bobby his number if he ran into any trouble, and Dave would help him sort it out. He said he would get the nice mic stands over to him on Friday to room 305 while they practiced. Dave said to lay the mics out at the end of the bed until he got the stands. That would work okay. Bill thanked Dave for his help and offered to give him a lift back to school. But Dave was meeting some friends over at the Paramount to see a movie. It was only a short walk around the corner by the river. They said their goodbyes, and off they were. Bobby and his dad were the most excited to get his cassette deck hooked up. Bobby knew he was going to be short on spending money for quite a while, but was happy about what he got to buy. So was his dad happy to see Bobby taking this music thing so seriously. Bill didn't tell Bobby right away that this would be his birthday gift for July. Bill also told Bobby that he planned on picking up Bobby at the end of practice on Friday so he wouldn't have to ride dangerously with the music stands. The rest of the week seemed to fly by with the expectations of a nice dinner and music at the Miller House on Saturday night. Yes, the Masons and Diane Davis knew this was a big deal to be invited to this event, and they just couldn't wait to go. Bobby had fun working on his recording skills, and they were coming along nicely, he thought, as his recordings sounded almost just like his playing. But this way he got to really concentrate on his sound and his note timing. He thought he would get Diane to come over with her violin one day, and he would record her and see what she thought. This was going to be fun. Bobby also learned that he could record right off his Marantz receiver's FM Turner or his turntable, and that would be fun as well. The family had a car cassette deck in the dashboard of the car. They didn't use it much, but now they could listen to Bobby's recordings when they were out for a ride. Saturday late afternoon came, and they all got dressed in their best clothes, and even Bill went downtown and bought a tuxedo shirt and a bow tie to go with his nicest black suit that would really fit the occasion. It would probably happen anyway, but they did not want to be the worst dressed at this nice event. They arrived at the Miller home at 47 Montrose Boulevard, and this antebellum-style home was spectacular to view coming down the boulevard. Bill drove up onto the large circular drive that had brick parking pads near the entrance and the exits for about 8 cars each. It was clear that this house was built someone planned on entertaining. As they parked and started walking toward the house,